welcome to the podcast with my friend Rooster. We call him Mark sometimes. We got myself, I am Doug, and we have Callie. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. We're not quite sure what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. It is Saturday, and it is 2020 Corona pandemic style. So, what do you think about that?
I think it's funny that Callie's in here with headphones and a mask on.
No, so yeah, I did notice the mask, and when you came in, I went, either she's gonna look at me like I don't give a crap about people, and I'm just gonna breathe on you. But then I started thinking, maybe she doesn't want us to get sick. Is that the whole deal?
That's the premise, because I work in healthcare, and I'm more afraid of giving it to somebody. The whole coronavirus thing is for those folks who have underlying health issues. It really affects them really bad, because I have a friend who's probably, I think she's like 55, 56, and she's on a respirator right now fighting for her life. And she worked in the same type of environment that I work in, skilled nursing. So that's why I'm wearing a mask.
Got to be scary every day, waking up and going into that.
I bob and weave every day. I see somebody, whoop, whoop. When it first came out, I'll tell a funny story. There was this nurse, and she was walking down the hall, and they were talking about distancing yourself. And there was a wall, and if she could have, I came up on her suddenly, and if she could have melted into that wall, she got so close to it. So I just slowed way down and let her go by, because I was like, God, it's not that serious. But now, yeah, it is that serious.
I totally can see that. Like when I'm walking around, like if I go to the grocery store, I'm a little oblivious to it. And after our conversation, I'm thinking, man, I probably should be a little bit more conscious of what's going on. I'm just walking through the store, and I notice people, like they see me coming, and they just turn their cart around and go the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially folks that don't have on a mask. I'm like, let me get away from.
And you get the look like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, why are you wearing that mask in here?
Yeah.
I'm self-quarantined. Our company sent everybody home back in March.
Yeah.
I haven't really left the house that much. I maybe go to the grocery store, not doing much, but you watch all this media and you think, I'm not personally seeing it, but I'm living, isolated.
Yes.
And then we started talking, and I'm just like, wait a minute, I wasn't even really thinking about it. You see the news reports, and you see the wave that when it hit nursing homes, and you saw a lot of deaths from that. But it's still like until it's like in front of your face, and you get so much conflicting information. Like everything you read, everything you watch on TV, you hear one thing, and then the next minute you're thinking, oh, I shouldn't do this. And then you hear somebody contradict it instantly. And you're just like, I don't even know what to believe.
If you're in proximity of another person, you probably need to put on a mask. So I think this is where this podcast is going to make people think about thoughts.
That's true. The people who could think. Well, honestly, it didn't faze me a bit. I'm so set in my ways. I'm gonna wear my mask when I go to Aldi and Walmart and Kroger, because I'm kind of pressured into it. Mm-hmm. But I've gone into Aldi without. There's an Aldi down the road. Okay, so anybody you're like, wait, why is he keep mentioning Aldi? It's a pretty freaking cool store, man. There's some stuff.
I don't go to the grocery store.
What do you do? Amazon, or like you have them delivered?
She's one of those people.
I had food delivered.
What do you mean by those people?
Yes.
You're high society. Oh no, I don't.
I knew that's what you were thinking.
I don't go to the store. I have them bring it to me.
Well, I went and picked up the groceries from Kroger's. I ordered online and went to pick it up.
Oh, you did the order pickup.
And then I got so freaked out about what I saw them doing, picking up the groceries, that I was like, I can't do this. So my anxiety on catching COVID is very, very high. So they feed us at work quite a bit to keep us safe.
Well, you're an exception. I mean, you're a first responder.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't even go to the grocery store, so I don't even know what you're talking about. People are wearing masks. Well, see,
yeah,
all these are cool stores. I didn't go to the grocery store for this, though.
You didn't either? Look at you. You're trying to.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Like,
what did you do?
Like,
you don't cook?
How much has COVID really affected the way you run?
One of my stories, the guy who stripped down to his socks. Oh yeah.
A guy delivering your food?
No. That would probably happen to me.
You should tell.
It's like
DoorDash
dude,
guy. No.
like,
So
why are you in your socks?
what? Because he assumed that.
Yeah.
you
Tell
were-
the story again. Tell the story again.
I got to know what's going on.
So now it's on record. For
Here we
real.
go. Here we
won't-
go.
we won't-
So-
this
No.
won't go. This
Nah,
won't go.
you got my word.
Was seeing this guy. Yeah, I was seeing this guy, and he was like, "Oh, it was good seeing you last night." Well, his brother just happened to own this particular piece of property, so we went, got breakfast, and he drove me out to where his brother's property was, and we sat out there and we chit.
Did he have rope, duct tape, and chloroform in the back seat?
At this point, I'm thinking like, no, but he wasn't that kind of guy. So he was a really cool guy.
How do you know?
He was a really cool. I mean, we'd been talking on the phone for like 6 months.
I talked to him on the phone for 6 months. I had no idea he was a mass murderer.
You know, and we'd seen each other, but this particular time. So anyway, come back to my house, and I had set up to meet some friends later on about 2:00. Now this is breakfast. We went to breakfast. It's like 8:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And now it's like noon. So I said, "Excuse me, I'm gonna go call my friends, really text them, and see if we're still on for 2:00 because I was really enjoying this company."
Yeah, yeah.
So I leave.
But to ditch your friends.
I leave exactly right, and I get up off of the sofa. I go around to my bedroom. I send the text message. I come back out, and this dude is standing there in his socks
You're kidding me.
with nothing else on. And
Did he do anything to make, if it were me, I mean, I would have to like spend 10 minutes to get it even presentable.
you know, I don't even remember.
Get a little head start.
I'd have to get a head start.
I don't
You
even
kidding me?
remember.
Did he
Slammed the
say
door.
anything like, see you later? He just
Nothing.
walked out.
Just walked
He was
out.
so embarrassed.
Dudes are so weird.
Did you
man.
slam the door or just kind of close it?
No, I slammed
You
it.
slammed the door.
I wanted him
You
to
were
know.
angry.
I
You
was
wanted to
pissed.
emphasize that this is
I'm
crazy.
like,
So
what were you thinking? And now with the Me Too movement, you got to be careful. She may be giving that sign, but you can't act on it because now you got to get consent. You got to pull out a form. I want you to read
that's
this.
right.
take your dude in the socks. You just don't know. Yeah, I mean,
You just don't know.
There's probably more stories like that.
Yeah.
Than there are of, hey, I need you to come
But
read a script at 3:00 in the
Here's the
morning
thing.
at my mansion.
Black in America.
Yeah.
Black men in America, they are still seen as
So they get to talk
threatening.
when they're driving and they get pulled over when they're
Oh
doing
my
this.
God. That still
they
happens,
were
Mark.
driving a luxury vehicle and in their neighborhood getting pulled over.
Just nonstop.
It's
and
bullshit. It
their father
is
had to
so-
go to the
yeah.
police department.
I can't believe that I am living in this world that happens because it's like that was the way it was back in the 60s.
None of us can. I mean, even as an African American woman, I can't believe that we are living.
It's still
in this,
going on.
That a man running down the street jogging, somebody decides it's okay. Let's go get our guns and hunt him down.
But that's the thing. You got two things going on. You got that whole thing going on, and you've also got the way that the laws are written, especially the way the laws are written in Georgia. It's a pretty low threshold for I'm in fear of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
With profiling.
but, black people, that law doesn't apply to us because we could pull out a gun and shoot somebody, and they're going to charge us with murder.
Yeah, there's not going to be a in-depth.
You remember
investigation.
that Eddie Murphy skit?
Which one?
Come on, you guys have to seen it. Where he
Hilarious,
he
raw.
dressed it himself. It was a Saturday Night Live kind of segment
Gumby.
where he made himself look white.
Oh,
and he's walking around and he
take it. It's free.
Right. Yeah. He gets on the bus. They shut the bus, and all of a sudden, everybody starts dancing and drinking and passing stuff around. And he's like, and then a black person comes on the bus after him, and they're all like settled down.
That was the
or they wanted a
80s
loan. They
when
wanted a
he did
loan.
that.
He wanted to get a loan, and he's like,
Here, as much as you want.
Just take as much as you want. Don't you need collateral? No, you're one of us. It was very, but it's He nailed it.
And you talk about a loan. My son was getting ready to buy a house, and I told him, whatever you do not put what race you are. Don't on any
on the
paperwork,
application.
Don't put anything associated with your race. Nothing. If the loan officer tries to fill it in, you tell him to take it off.
Now, what are your the names
Of my sons?
Yeah.
Kai and Kaylin.
Kai and Kaylin. Okay.
Here's a question. Hold on one second. Here's a question
Wow,
about the whole
I was
bank
going
loan
somewhere,
thing.
but go ahead.
because this is something I'm curious about. So, we were talking about earlier about inequality, and you got racial inequality. You've got all these different types of inequality, but when it comes to racial inequality, the only thing that I can see that would significantly impact that is if when I walked into a bank, if I was your son and I walked into a bank, and I'm not even going to use a percentage. There was just, let's just call it 50 percentage of diversity as far as people working in that bank. That's the only thing that's really going to change it. Because if I came in to get a loan and everybody in that bank, everybody that worked in that bank was black, would I have any compunction to, I'm white. I'd fill out the form just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't, so until...
Well, I know enough. When I put down white, I put down white because I feel like somebody's gonna profile and pick me over somebody. If there was 2 white guys and 3 black guys, and I put white down there, I feel like I have an advantage.
Well, you have luckily achieved discrimination status because you are a white 50-year-old.
No,
dude,
I know how the game's played.
Yeah, that's what we now refer to as white privilege. Mm-hmm. We know it's out there, and it's white men predominantly that are fighting against, like, no, there's no white privilege. Walk in his shoes.
Absolutely.
Walk in
the
his
number
shoes
one thing that's the one thing that I think that take your whole mask. Like the first time when you came in here wearing the mask, I'm kind of cracking jokes about it. And I knew you were in HR. I didn't even really understand it was HR in the healthcare industry. Mm-hmm. And then all you had to do is just explain your work environment, and I'm like, oh.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But the question,
I've been sitting in my house for 3 months.
So this is a question, and so you can either play the game, adapt to the game, and let's say that a lot of black heritage, the name choices, you'd be able to tell that person's black, that Jamal or Tamika or whatever. Not always, and it's stereotype.
Exactly.
But if I were looking through resumes and I saw a name that sounded black, just by sounding so, as a black person, do you go, I'm not naming my kid that. I want them to have a better chance in life.
Clearly, she didn't. She named your kids.
Or do you go, bullshit? I am proud of my heritage, and if I don't get hired because of my name, then I don't want to work for you anyway. So there's two perspectives.
Well, here's the way I went about it, and yes, right, saying a name that is unique as heritage. Yes, black people tend to name their children
get creative,
very unique and be creative. Mm-hmm. But I wrote down some names because I had a bunch of names, and I
think those names are cool.
I put President Kai Asbury.
Look at you.
President Kaylin Asbury.
Yes, ma'am.
And I said those names, and I said, yep, that sounds really good.
That rolls off the tongue.
That rolls really good. If they're president of the USA, president of a company, whatever, an attorney, Kai Asbury Esquire. That's how we.
Who would have guessed that Barack Obama would have done it? But it wasn't. I don't know.
So,
but go ahead.
So why did he use the name Barry for so long?
You know why he used the name Barry?
Why?
The same reason I'm Callie, because someone in his circle
gave him a hard time about Barack.
Didn't want to call him Barack, and started calling him Barry.
Yeah. Oh, it's a nickname.
Yeah. Oh,
it's a nickname.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I hate it when people give people nicknames.
They started, and
like Dougie Fresh.
So Doug, you don't know this, but my real name, my birth name is Cluster.
Cluster.
But when we used to travel, and I used to be at the
I
registration,
appreciate you just telling
at the
Callie.
registration desk. They wanted to. I had to upsell them on things. Hey, come to our next. But they wanted to talk about my name. Where did that name come from?
Where did that name come from? Right.
Why?
And
why do you care? So our old boss.
I just sat on the tarmac at JFK for 3 hours.
So our old boss used to be like, cow. And then one day I said, Peter, I want to put that on my business card. That's okay? And he was like, well, I don't care. And so I just started using Callie professionally.
Good. I mean,
So-
but
That's
did
when
you think?
first started using
But-
it?
Were you thinking
I
I'd
didn't know.
really want to use, like when somebody's name is Robert and I go, hey Rob, I'm like, no. Or if your name's Kimberly and
they
their
don't
business
tell-
card says Kimberly, but everybody's calling her Kim,
Yeah.
I go, do you want to be called?
Exactly.
And then
I
most
say
of the
that
times
too.
they say, it doesn't matter. I go, no, it does matter.
Yeah.
What would you rather be called? And
Yeah.
they go, well, I prefer
interesting.
Kimberly.
Yeah.
So I call them Kimberly.
Yeah.
But my son's Weston. People call him Wes.
Your
I'm
friends
like,
call you Callie? Because every time I've been around you, I've never heard anybody call you by your full name.
No. Probably,
I've heard it every now and
Probably
then.
after 1999,
Yeah.
everybody kind of transitioned to start calling me Callie.
Yeah.
Friends and all.
now, how do you feel about that? Are you like, that's cool?
I'm fine with it
Because it's a cool name.
It's professional. So most of the times,
And it rhymes with Hallie.
And it's
Yeah,
going back to
going-
Cali.
Callie Hallie.
Use that name. But I'm glad we got on this subject. Is that older Black people do not like to have their names shortened because it was a slave mentality.
I get that.
That's
the
right.
white master
Would
can't
call
say
you
my
whatever you-
name,
right.
so he's going to change my name. So my mother, for the longest time, she kind of did not call me Callie. She would call me Cluster.
Yeah, yeah.
But now she's okay with calling me Callie. As she learns,
She
she's
had to-
80 years old now.
Wow.
But you
And she's
explained to
learning,
her why
yes,
you.
like that. I'm not changing my name
Yeah.
just professionally.
Right.
It's easier for everybody because if you don't say my name properly, Cluster,
Yeah.
I don't answer. So I'd have people Clister,
Yeah,
and I'm not answering.
the
I'm
whole
not-
hotel check-in
I'm not
thing, I
even
remember
trying to
that.
correct them. I'm not going to correct them if you don't take the time to ask me. Now, how do you pronounce your name?
Isn't that
I'm not
funny?
going to correct you because you don't care.
I totally get. I've
Yeah,
seen
but-
it.
but my last
Start
name is-
asking 1,000 questions about your name, and you're like, I would sometimes be standing behind her. I'm like, let's go.
Hurry, come on, dog. This is going to get ugly, right? Well, see, my last name is VIA, and everyone goes Via, right? And so I just have to deal with it, Party for Via, right here.
Yeah.
And so, a guy years ago said, ooh, Doug Vi, the video guy. And so I used that as a way to get
Wasn't
people.
that me?
Huh?
Wasn't that me?
No, it was Gary Rifkin from Fujitsu or ICL. He's
Made up name.
Yeah, but so, and for me, I'm going, I don't know why it's pronounced Vi, Pancho Villa, it's via satellite. And then I tried the whole when two vowels come together, coat,
Right.
B-O-A-T. And so, that makes sense. But then you're like, but those words always have a consonant after it. So I'm like, hell if I know. Should I just change my name to just VAI or VI with a line over it?
Right.
I don't, I mean, I
Right.
would if
So-
it made it,
so-
if I wanted to be called Vi and it made a
So
big
you
deal.
understand the whole, what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
your last name. It's my first name. And
Yeah.
then it's like, and you have people who try to make fun of it. And most of the times it's white people who try to make fun of it. And then I used to have the rebuttal is like, I can't help because your mother wasn't creative.
What? How would you make fun of that? How do you make fun of that?
Cluster?
Yeah.
They were like, cluster F,
clusterfuck.
F, yeah.
Yeah, all that. But most of it was like clusterol, and I was like, it's not even spelled that way. But anyway,
That's not creative.
It's like so. Like, what are you talking about, John?
Right.
Bob.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
Like, I can't help that. So going back to as a HR director, when I see names, I immediately start looking at their job descriptions. I don't care what their name is. Funny thing, I hired this one, Tashawana. What's her name? She was a little white girl.
Tashawana?
Tashawana.
Yeah, I was gonna
she's
say,
a little white girl.
you'd think.
So those names around about the 80s, white people start kind of giving their kids that name. And here's a funny story. My son had a friend. Her name was LaToya.
Yeah.
And she was having a hard time. They graduated together. And my son named Kalen Asbury, he was getting all types of interviews. LaToya wasn't getting anybody to call
It's
her
the
back.
luz, the tuz, and the shuz.
And my son
If it's
said,
a love
Mom, I
this or
didn't have the heart to tell her that you're
It's her
not getting
name?
calls because of your name. They think you're black. And so she changed it. Her middle name was something like Jennifer or something. So she went to L.Jennifer, then her last name, and started getting calls.
And so that's the core question I had was, my dad says early on, like, it's a game, son. If you're going to have long hair and earrings and tattoos, just know that you're going to be isolated or categorized, and you won't have as many opportunities in life. Okay. And I'm like, I am who I am. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was the guy who earring, and I wanted to look how I wanted to look. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of had this rule breaker mentality. Am I willing to compromise some things in order to get there? And if I'm compromising, do I really go, I'm not who I am anymore because I made those compromises? Or are you looked at it as like, you know, I'm clever enough and I'm smart enough to go, look, I can be a chameleon too.
There's so much content on YouTube talking about these subjects, white privilege, the Me Too move, all this kind. But it's almost like, it feels like if you don't keep talking about it and hit some sort of critical mass, it may be something where it gets so close to critical mass, and if it doesn't keep going,
yeah, I think you have to keep. I think you have to keep pushing it. I think you have to keep bringing it up. And if anybody were to listen to this, and if one person went, "I'll be damned, I'm going to change the way I think," I think that will be a positive thing, right?
I mean, that's just like, you know, someone not liking someone. They've never met this person. They walk in here, they see me, I'm a black woman, and they're like, I don't like her. Mm-hmm. And you go, why? Because she's black.
Well, nobody walks into a room and goes, I don't like you because you're black.
I know, they don't, but they're thinking it. I'm not going to like that
But you can tell by looking at somebody that they're thinking that.
Well, they think about that with fat people. You get somebody who's 500 pounds. No, I'm talking about 400 or 500 pounds. You start judging them like, immediately. How could you let yourself, if a black woman or man is angry because of the oppression, I don't go, get over it. I'm like, I totally get it.
Rub some dirt on it, get back in the game.
Because it's not, then if you want us to get over, then you need to tell the Holocaust victims they need to get over it.
Yeah, that's a good example.
So you're under the delusion that we already have freedoms.
I was about, why is he using the word delusion until you finished your sentence? And
you happen to think that you have anonymity and your Google searching.
No, I don't think. Well,
to me, peace of mind in this country is don't believe everything that you read, see, or hear.
I was thinking because don't believe anything you.
Well, honestly, anything
read,
you
see, or hear.
And when somebody goes, I read this, or I heard this, or and they say that so they can prove that they're right. But then I go, you don't even know that that's true. And you're raising your blood pressure, trying to prove a point on something that may or may not be true. It's just your bias. And you can bias search all you want. You can find, if you want to look to prove a point that,
that's a good point.
Sniffing glue actually cures cancer, you'll find it.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
If you want
sniffing glue cures cancer.
If you want to find content that agrees with your worldview, it's out there.
It's out there. And the exact opposite of that is out there, all claiming to be what? True.
Yeah.
And our president right now has watered down that word truth. It's like he's desensitized us. Like, wow. So then this next president, oh my God, talking about a great act to follow. Man, I could lie like half the time and they would believe everything I said.
No, we're too far. We've already set the precedents now. It's like the bar it's consistently getting lower and lower and lower. We're idiocracy, dude. We are becoming Idiocracy, the movie.
Yeah. And so it's depressing for me to think that way. So I like to live happily, and I don't like to stress and worry and overthink things if I can help it.
That's so odd that you don't want to be stressed out.
Well, but people do. I've got a number of friends who are glued to CNN, who are glued to Fox, who are glued to MSNBC while they work. I choose to be a Christian, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that the Jews are going to hell. I'm not saying the Buddhists are going to hell. Right. Well, if you're a Christian, you'll know the only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. When I realize I'm a speck in this universe, and that, that I've got free will, but there is an actual mechanism to tap into goodness that pays you back when you do good, and you and you have to engage with it. Mm-hmm. I call that's my God.
Yeah. We worked with a lady. She was Unitarian. So she invited me to go to her church because I'm like you. I want to know about everybody's religion. Why do they believe that? Why do they do those
I'm
things?
curious.
So I went to her church, and I'm sitting there, and everything, all they talked about is goodness and being kind to people and blah, blah, blah. They never read a Bible. Mm-hmm. They just know. And when I tell you I left out of that church, that service, feeling so good.
Right.
And I was like, and I know I have gone to some of my Baptist church services and been like,
Where you came out of there and go, I'm going to hell.
I'm going to hell
for this one.
I went to a church for 7 years and loved the church, worked in the church and everything. And the pastor got up and preached one sermon. And he started preaching about gays going to hell and blah, 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 blah. And I kept waiting. I was like, so now he's going to, because I've read the Bible. So he's going to talk about fornicators and liars and thieves and all that. And I hope so. And the only reason it really, really disturbed me so bad is because I knew that there was a young man sitting in that audience that I knew personally that was struggling with that.
And I'm sure he was like,
And you have just preached to this 16-year-old that he is going to go to hell.
Burn in a lake of fire for all of eternity.
That's the part about Christianity that I go.
I left that church and I never went back.
Interesting. Good for you.
Never went back.
We've left churches for many reasons much like that.
Homosexuality was going on 4,000 years ago because they took the time to write it down.
Yeah.
What would Jesus do if he saw two gay people on the street?
I'm just saying that's been around since the dawn of time.
Would Jesus say, you're going to hell? Or would he go, hey, I accept you as you say?
He accepts
yeah, absolutely.
Here's a
We're
question.
not supposed to judge.
That's right.
So what'd you say? You said something about you choose to be Christian or something like that?
My choice is because that's all I know. I walk with the only God I know.
Let's say that I born in the jungle.
In the jungle.
Never seen a human other than the people
Tarzan.
in my tribe.
I'm with you. Racist.
Good deal.
Go ahead.
How's that racist?
I don't know.
You're telling me that if I go my entire life living in that little rainforest,
Raised by apes.
whatever,
Sure.
I go all the way till I die, never see a single other person other than the people in my tribe,
And apes.
that I'm going...
There's got to be apes. Give me some apes.
that I'm going to go burn in a lake of fire for all eternity.
Right.
But
tortured forever.
Some white dude hacking his way through the jungle with a machete and actually stumbles upon me and goes, "Oh, you simpletons! Here, this is the book of God. You
Wisdom,
must read this,
logic,
and we're going to convert you into a Christian."
Right.
Now you're not going to go burn in a lake of fire because I've
giving you this
explained it to
chance.
you.
Yeah.
And that's why my report right there, because it says, I'll draw all men to thee.
Yeah.
So that's what they believe. Now I got to go out here and they tell us to go and spread the word. So he's like, I'm going to go spread leave them people alone.
Yeah.
What about that crazy?
Why is everybody trying to
tribe
force
that
people
lives
to
on the
believe their
island?
way?
They did not come seeking your word. But if I run across somebody, if I'm having, like we're having candid conversation here, and someone starts talking, well, I just don't believe, I'm going to tell them my beliefs.
Yeah.
And why I believe it, they can make their own assessment.
My ultimate statement or comment is, I think you're a product of your environment. If all you ever knew was Southern Baptist, then you're going to go around everywhere you go telling everybody.
But what a point. We talked about drinking the Kool-Aid. We've talked about politics. They've drank the Kool-Aid and they believe this things. And now we're talking religion.
My mom's head explodes when I say this to her. She's like,
it's because you...
What does she explode over?
When I say stuff like that. Like the fact that you believe what you believe is because you were raised
a product of your environment.
Texas, you don't know.
I'm like Doug. I sold homes, and so I had all kind of families, like Jewish families and Indian families, and they all wanted to do something, spiritual in their foundation. And I was just thinking, I was like, at the end of the day, I call him God. Somebody else called him Mother
Sheba,
of Earth. Somebody
Muhammad.
else Buddha, the prophet. I was like, at the end of the day, we all trying to live a good life.
Those are religions and teachings to help us be good people to one another.
And that's what it ultimately. If you live a good life, you do right by yourself and others. Hey. Well, they say there's an afterlife.
All the religions say the same thing. If you don't believe this way, something bad's going to happen to you.
We talked about a lot of things today, and we hope that some of you out there listeners, we hope that you all...
It just doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. And conclusions of a podcast, are they really that important? You just kind of...
We never went to the moon.
What? We'll see you on the next one. Y'all take it easy, but not too easy. Peace.